I'm gonna put and everything in here.
It's weird. You start tasting it in your mouth. I love that. When you're on low lack of sleep, you want to fill your body with vitamins. Just everything you need. As long as we get the work done, I do whatever.
So here's the way it works, and I'm sure Chris also understands, because Chris partially explained this to me as well. Here's how it works when you're microdosing. So you bigger dose off season, which is not when there's no fights and nobody's getting tested, because boxing is the Wild West and doesn't test in between fights. Yep. And then you're microdosing during camp. And when you're microdosing, it is trapped in the fat and therefore not going into your bloodstream, so therefore it's harder to catch you.
Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Taz Talks Fight. Let's look at whether Ryan Garcia's 1-year ban and suspension from the sport of boxing is a right sentence. Now, as you may know, he got this from a late appeal in a fight which he won originally and initially in the night of the fight against Devin Haney. That fight where, you know, it went the distance, but he really handed it to him. To my shock as well, I thought Devin Haney was going to just completely obliterate him during that fight. I thought Devin Haney's boxing skill and his resume thus far, since that fight, or before that fight, was superior to that of Ryan Garcia, because at that point, Devin Haney, you must know, fought and beat Lomachenko. He fought Kambosos, which beat and dropped Teofimo Lopez, which is a bigger puncher than Haney. I really didn't think that Devin Haney was really going to just outbox Ryan Garcia, but to my surprise, he shocks everyone. And leading up to that fight too, he wasn't prepared. Ryan Garcia was, you know, mocking it. He was out there partying, doing all sorts of crazy stuff on the social media. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, if it's just all for show. But one thing remains, that Devin Haney was 100% prepared for this fight. He didn't cut no corners. He wasn't out there partying. There was no excuses. That's why this fight came as such a surprise to me, because sometimes you get beat fair and square. It's difficult to accept that, especially if you're an undefeated fighter that has never tasted defeat before. So you're going to look for ways out. You know, we see this with Wilder. We see this with a ton of guys that were undefeated that, you know, were defeated for the first time. They make all sorts of excuses. So I thought at the beginning it was just there, and Ryan Garcia really did just beat him. But there is truth to what Devin Haney was saying. That is because he got flagged for PEDs. He was tested for any performance enhancing drugs that he was taking, and his B samples came up, and he actually came positive for 70 to 2,200 picograms of Ostarine. And his excuse was this was just a tainted supplement that he was taking from a raspberry lemonade flavored NutriBio Supercarb, but that still boosted his Ostarine level to 6 ng per milliliter, which is 60 times more than the allowable threshold. So you may argue that, like, this doesn't even make any difference. It's so trivial that it doesn't even make any impact whatsoever. But the former boxing world champions, Paulie Malignaggi and Chris Algieri, actually had to talk about this and discussed it. It doesn't actually come from just being tainted from a supplement that you may drink or something that you eat. See, Canelo also had this with, you know, we always see this in boxers, Conor Ben, Canelo. Whenever there's always just small traces. And what does that actually come from? See, it's not just tainted from supplements and foods that you may get from your daily diet. It's not that. They actually go deeper into this, behind the curtains, into the business more aspect of boxing. Because they're boxers, they know what goes on around it. Things that normal fans won't necessarily see. There's two ways of taking performance enhancing drugs: macro dosing and micro dosing. Macro is bigger doses. Macro dosing and micro dosing goes into two separate ways. They're stored differently. Macro dosing goes straight into your bloodstream, and the micro dosing, it gets stored because there's such small amounts of it. It gets stored in your fats. It never gets traced. And when you test for a drug, you take blood samples. So it's whatever goes into your veins, your bloodstream. So if you only microdose it, you will never detect it. You'll never detect any performance enhancing drugs. You can literally take whatever you want. As long as you microdose it every now and then, it will never be traced. It will never be tracked. It's hidden underneath your fat. But the problem with boxers is, and that's why most of the times the samples comes back later on with small traces of certain PEDs, is that because when a fighter goes a week before a fight, they lose weight, they drain their water supply and also their fats. You know, when you're making weight a week before a fight, you try to make weight, and in doing so, you burn your fat, you burn whatever water supply you have, you dehydrate yourself, and from that process, you also burn the fats. Now, what happens when you burn the fat is that the traces of your microdosing of the PEDs that was hidden in the fats trickles down into your bloodstream because they have nowhere to hide anymore. It's kind of like an ice thawing or melting. And then from within the drugs, the PEDs, it washes away. And from that, it goes into your bloodstream. That's why you have small traces in your bloodstream. It's not because you only take a small amount and it doesn't affect you whatsoever. No, that's the only thing that's detected. So by the time the small things are detected, that's just the residue. Now who knows how much you've been taking? It's not detected. But that simply means if there is a smoke, there is a fire. That means if there's small traces in your bloodstream, then there is a spring to that. And that was how Chris Algieri and Paulie Malignaggi explained it. Now as to how, if Ryan Garcia really was taking it, we can't really know. But the facts remain, and the samples did come positive, and that's with everyone in boxing. You know, when you're in the boxing circuit, everyone always says like everyone's on drugs, everyone's on PEDs. It doesn't really matter who you are. I mean, that's understandably so. If you make your money from this sport and you want to do your best and everyone's taking it, I mean, that's the Lance Armstrong theory, isn't it? It's just, if everyone's taking it, might as well be on it. Look, if you're given a choice, if you're going to go on pay-per-view and become the biggest star and feed your family and make the most money, if you only but take this magic pill and then you'll get there, why not? Why not take it? You're only doing it for your survival, for your family. Take it. That's when the morals of boxing and fighting clashes with the business aspect of it. Like, if money's all you want, if you don't have any morals, any ethics, and you ain't got no principles, and your money is your god, then you will be susceptible to doing all of these things. So that's just a quick dive into Ryan Garcia's suspension and ban, into the whole fiasco, to what actually goes on behind the scenes that, you know, the players of it knows. Chris Algieri has been in this game for a while. Paulie Malignaggi has been a perennial figure in boxing, from his burst to the scene, from being a fighter, being a world champion, and now to being one of the best boxing analysts of the modern times, really. This is knowledge from these guys. We just have to look at it in a deeper sense and with more of a critical aspect. But as to Ryan's future, though, it's inevitable. Look, money talks and power moves. Politicking. He's going to get back. He's always going to have that platform. It's kind of just like Jarrell Miller. He's been caught with so many times with these things, and he just fought Daniel Dubois last time in one of the biggest cards in this year. Ryan Garcia is going to be given another platform. If it was up to me, you know, there should be justice. If someone has been caught taking drugs, there should be a lifetime ban. But unfortunately, justice isn't how the world operates. Money is. He is a big pay-per-view star, so that's undeniable. So we will see him again. Who would I want to see him fight next? I'd like that rematch. I want David Haney to stay active, though. I don't know. You know, he's going through a lot of things right now, but don't get lost. Stay in the gym, stay focused, and use this time to build up in preparation for the rematch. Really, he has an advantage of being able to fight, and Ryan Garcia can't. So use this time to your advantage and pick up the momentum. So I hope you like this video, guys. Comment down below what you want to hear next, talking about boxing, UFC, and everything else you want to be covered, and we'll get to that. This is Taz Talks Fighting. Peace.